What's going on? Daniel from These Seven Seas. Now, in the ocean of knife brands and makers, I can imagine it being pretty tough to stand out of the crowd, right? To be unique, kind of to be noticed, right? Especially in today's market, everyone is using the latest materials at a more affordable price point. I think we as knife enthusiasts have so many more options to choose from. I think that's why we call it like the golden age of the EDC community, right? So that's why I love when I come across a knife maker that's doing something like this, right? So this is the Prince Customs Protean or Protean. I don't know exactly how to say it. I've heard it being said both ways. I think Prince Wong actually says protein, so I'm gonna go with that. Okay. Now, as far as I know, he's fairly new to the scene, but I may be wrong. I believe his first model was an automatic out the side folder called the Persevere, and the Protean is his first foray into like manual folders. And boy, did he come out of the gate with a bang. Now, from what I've seen, he seems to be like a one-man shop with a lot of machining resources behind him. He's pretty much doing everything in-house right out of Texas, from heat treating his own blades down to machining the handles from raw stock. Now let's get right into the knife. So I was able to connect with Prince Wong, who's a knife maker, via email, and he told me that the first 17 Proteans have this unique satin finish on the flats versus the more consistent stonewash finish that he puts on his blades now in the kind of the later iterations of the Protean. That's what I'm talking about right there, right? You see that satin finish on that flat portion, which I think gives it like a really cool kind of special, unique look. So if you have a low serial number like this one is number 8. I think you have something really special, right? I don't want to say it's like a collector's piece, right, or anything, but it is different from the more kind of recent Proteans that you see going on, right? Also, he did change up the blade profile from this really nice looking kind of Tonto-esque drop point to a more, I think it's more of like a traditional looking drop point where the belly kind of curves up a little bit more towards the tip. I think honestly this blade profile looks a lot better than the more current blade shape. It gives it like kind of that aggressive kind of look, that unique look that I think, I really, really jive with this profile. I think that's about the only major kind of evolutions that's taken place. And he's only still, I think there's still only less than 100 of these guys out there in the wild from what I've seen. I think he's in the 70s or 80s at this point, which is June 2024. He does do drops every so often. I think he does drops about 5 or 10 every week or every other week. It's not super like frequent, but he is doing these drops. So it's not super like readily available, but ever so slowly I'm starting to see these out in the wild, and not so much out in the secondary yet. All right, but I'm sure we're gonna start seeing more of these, or as they become more readily available. Now let's just get right into the knife. Let's start off with what I absolutely love about the Protean. All right, first of all, the action and acoustics are superb. I mean, the detent is really dialed in. It's a little on the stiffer side, but it's really perfectly dialed in for that Spidey flick with that middle finger. And I think that's what this knife is really designed for in terms of opening is really that. Now, I've tried, to do it with a thumb, and it's a little bit harder to get into that fuller. So I could just do a slow roll, and that's nice too. But really, I think it's designed for that. Also, the acoustics. Now, this knife, I think this knife is still being broken in, but I'm starting to hear that really beautiful ting that I'm seeing in the other Proteans. So you're starting to hear that now. So I think honestly, as this knife breaks in, it's gonna be like a perfect combination of action and acoustics. I think both what we absolutely love as knife enthusiasts, but I love it, man. that action and that sound is so addicting. Oh man. Ah, so good. There you go. Oh, beautiful. Second thing I love about this, I kind of mentioned it, is this blade profile. Now, this is not a tanto. This has it's a consistent grind angle down to the cutting edge, but I love how it has this kind of this flat portion and then this really aggressive belly up to that tip. And I think it looks absolutely stunning. Prince has done a beautiful job doing this very aggressive hollow grind, so it thins out to the cutting edge. So this is really built to handle any EDC task that we typically do, like cutting boxes, cords, even some food prep, things of that nature. The hollow grind is my favorite grind, right? It really preserves the thickness of the spine, the integrity, the structural integrity of the blade, and then it brings it down to really what knives are designed for, right? Which is to slice and cut. So Prince has done a fantastic job executing this hollow grind. I love that. It does have a thicker blade stock. Let me see if I could bring a knife out that could compare. Let me see. So you have here the full size Arius. I think it's very comparable with the Arius blade stock. Let me see another one. Let me see, yeah, it's definitely thicker than the large Sabenza 21's blade stock, as you can see, right? So there you go. So it is on the thicker side, definitely, but like I said, it thins out beautifully to a very nice cutting edge. Yeah, I mean, I think the silhouette of the blade definitely has like that Tonto-esque look, but it's definitely a drop point. But I love this blade shape. It works really well with the overall like silhouette of this knife, in my opinion. Third thing is the ergos on this is awesome, guys. I love this very generous like finger choil. It locks in my middle or my I don't know, my pointer and middle finger right there. It just locks this knife in, feels very good in the hand. I don't feel any like hot spots or any weird like things like sticking into my palm or fingers. So I could tell very much so that Prince was very deliberate in making sure that his knife was going to be really comfortable to use for long periods of time. So I have medium-sized hands, so this is, I have more than enough real estate to grip this knife without worrying about it slipping into the path of the cutting edge. Wonderful. Love it, man. This way it feels also very good in the hand. Man, I love how he executed that pocket clip, because it is like a longer pocket clip for sure. It does have a good presence on the handle, but I don't feel it like poking into my hands or my fingers in any awkward or weird way, So I love that. Excuse me. The next thing I really appreciate about this knife is this really robust hardware. The pivot is a T15 and the body screw is rocking a T8. I think the only other knife maker that I could think of off the top of my head that does this would be Les George. I believe his VCEPs or VCPs also rocks a T15 and a T8 or a T10. I'm not sure, but yeah, I love when knife makers opt to go for a more robust hardware. It makes it easier for us knife enthusiasts to be able to take the knife apart without the possibility of jacking up the screws or stripping the screws, right? So love that, The next thing is I really appreciate is just the how EDC friendly this is in terms of the profile. I want to bring out another knife that I absolutely love. This is the Oz Machine Roosevelt. In terms of the profile, they're very similar, as you can see lengthwise. I'll say though that the Protean is definitely thicker this way. Excuse me. So it is a chunkier boy, but in every other way, I feel like it's very similar. So if you're looking for that kind of that 3-inch kind of EDC carry, the Protean's gonna fit right in. It has a really nice footprint. You know, I love that it is a little bit chunkier because it does fill the hand a little bit more than I'll say like this guy. Though I'll say overall the Roosevelt is definitely more comfortable because it has these really nice like chamfered edges. But in terms of filling out the hand, I think the Protean does a little better job doing that because, like I said, it is, you know, it's a chunkier boy. You know what I'm saying? So I believe this is 3 inches of blade, so you know, very ideal if you're just kind of doing, you know, common EDC stuff that we all typically do, right? Though I do appreciate, you know, longer blade shapes, like, you know, I got the Sebenza, this is 3.5, and then of course, you know, something like that guy, right? So, you know, I do appreciate like 3.5 to 3 inch kind of blade of cutting edge. So this sits really comfortably kind of in that EDC kind of category. All right. So that's everything that I absolutely love and appreciate about the Protean. Now, I do want to talk about 2 things that I've noticed that, you know, to me, I'm not such a big fan of, but this is honestly more of like an aesthetic thing. So, you know, take it as you will. The first thing is that right off the bat, I noticed that the lock bar insert isn't flush with the lock bar. As you can see right there, you kind of see, you know, you can kind of see a little gap right there. So, I mean, you know, it is what it is. So it's not like perfectly like flush, right? So yeah, there's that. Like I said, it's a visual thing because in terms of like lockup, is rock solid lockup. I mean, there is no movement in any direction. It feels like a bank vault, to be honest. So, you know, it's not gonna, functionally, it's not gonna cause any issues, but just visually, you know, if you're into that kind of stuff, you know, you may notice that. So there's that. The second thing is that to me, the fuller kind of looks a little funny. It's kind of looks like a blobby thing. I don't know what to call it, but I could actually understand why it's shaped like that, because in the closed position, it actually flows with that handle, right? The lines of the handle. So it flows right into those lines. So I totally get why he went with this type of a shape for the fuller. And also functionally it works great. It does its job really well. So in terms of like function, is fantastic. Again, it's just visually, you know, it just looks a little funny to me, right? Especially in the open position, it just looks a little funny to me. But again, it's a preference thing, you know. You may actually really like it. The last thing I want to point out, and I didn't really include this in my notes, but I just thought about this is clocking in at $725 from the maker. So when he does the drops, you're going to be paying $725. That includes shipping, which actually I really appreciate, because some knife makers, they're going to have the knife and then they're going to charge you for shipping, which I also understand. Everyone needs to eat, right? Everyone needs to make a living. So, hey, respect, right? But this is $725. Do I think it's worth that? I personally do. Mainly because this is I think this is like a one-man operation. He is based out of Texas. He's doing everything in-house. So to me, I value that, you know. If you're looking for like the best bang for your buck, maybe, you know, for you it may not jive, right? To me, it was worth the $725. You know, I think I really love supporting folks like Prince, who's really just trying to bring, you know, something unique, something cool, something awesome to us knife enthusiasts. You know, who's, like I said, he's doing everything in-house. You know, this is his design, you know, so I gotta respect that, man. I gotta respect that hustle. So for me, it was worth it. But just wanted to throw it out there. Yes, it's $725. And you could get a lot of knife for that money these days, right? You could get a Koenig, you know, you could get like a Chris Reeve, like a really fancy Chris Reeve. You could, I don't know if you could get an Oz Rosie. In the secondary, I still see these go for like $750, $800. So, right. Yeah. So there's a lot of options out there. So in that sense, it's a little bit of a hit, but like I said, I love supporting folks like Prince, who's just doing his own thing, who seems very just connected and tuned with what we as knife enthusiasts are looking for and what we appreciate, right? So with that being said, I honestly definitely think that Prince Custom is a knife maker to look out for. He's already made little tweaks to the more current protein. So what that tells me is that he's just going to keep getting better from here on out. I wouldn't be surprised if he becomes as popular as Oz Machine or Craig Brown Knives. His work definitely has a DNA to become that level very, very soon if he stays on this path, right? I'm so impressed with this knife. So if this is like his lowest bar, I can't even imagine what it's gonna be like in the very near future. So what are my final thoughts? If you can get one, get one. It has everything that us knife enthusiasts love. It has like the solid action, it has beautiful acoustics. It's just very comfy in the hand. Has a very mean blade shape, looks beautiful, and is able to really, perform and handle all of our EDC tasks. Like I mentioned, it is on the pricier side, 100%, right? But it's a price to play. You're supporting a small operation, USA-based knife maker who's doing everything in-house, like I said. So, you know what? If that's what tickles your fancy, like it does mine, then man, get this knife, guys. It's awesome. Super awesome. With that being said, if you have any questions or comments, drop them down below. Like I said, I'm starting to see these out in the wild a little bit more, but still kind of rare from what I've seen. So with that being said, I will talk to you guys soon.